I wanted to make a video about Ladies' Night because it's one of the first examples of discrimination against men that I was aware of when I was younger. When I first heard that there is a night that only women can get drinks for free, I naturally wondered if there was also a gentleman's night, where men can get drinks for free. Sure enough, there wasn't, and still isn't. I used to have a problem with Ladies' Night itself. I thought that it would only be fair if Ladies' Night was done away with. Either that or there should also be a gentleman's night, that way it will be fair. But after giving it some thought, I realized that it isn't so much Ladies' Night itself that I have a problem with. It's the differences in the general reactions that people have when it comes to discrimination against men versus discrimination against women. Now, I feel that a private business should have the right to discriminate, the same way that I have a right to not do business with them. Private business owners should be allowed to run their own business as they please, and if I don't like them, I simply don't do business with them. I don't go to bars or clubs anyway, that's not my thing. So this discrimination doesn't affect me personally. But what I don't like is the fact that it's okay to discriminate against men, but never okay to discriminate against women. I mean, if you talk about how Ladies' Night is unfair and it discriminates against men, then it's likely that people will laugh at you. But if a business decided to have a day where only men could get free stuff but not women, that would definitely not be tolerated. There are even some people who have the nerve to say that Ladies' Night isn't discrimination or sexism at all. Now, you can say that you think there should be a Ladies' Night, which I don't agree with. Or that privately owned bars and clubs have the right to have a Ladies' Night if they choose, which I agree with, provided that they also have the right to have a Guys' Night if they choose to. But you cannot deny that it is discrimination, because only women get these freebies, and there's no such night like this for men. Roy Hollander saw that Ladies' Night was discrimination, and in 2008 he took it to court. I want to show you an interview that ABC News did with him.
When it comes to nightclubs, here's the question. Is it fair for the ladies out there to get in for free or at a discount when just about every time out every man has to pay? Some men say it's illegal sex discrimination, but the club owners say it makes economic sense. You want the women to come because the men do.
I don't get that. You want the women to come because the men do? What about the other way around?
It's pretty much how it works. I worked in the clubs for a lot of years. Mary Kate Burke of the Law and Justice Unit has some reaction from some club goers, and here they are.
Well, yeah, I would think that people who actually go to bars and clubs wouldn't have much of a problem with it, since they are, after all, club goers. If they did have a problem with it and felt it was unfair, it's not likely that they would go to the club. But that doesn't mean that Ladies' Night isn't discrimination.
There are studies all the time that men make more money than women, so I think it's totally fair.
Here we go again, the wage gap myth. So her reasoning is that because men make more money, it's only fair that women get freebies. Men earn more compared to women on average because more men work full-time, take more risks, take fewer days off, etc. It has nothing to do with being a man. The reason for the wage gap has nothing to do with gender at all. If I randomly selected a man and a woman, it is possible that the man I picked makes more than the woman, but it is also possible that the woman I selected makes more than the man. On the other hand, Ladies' Night is discrimination, and it is based on gender. If I selected a random man and a random woman, the woman will always be the one who is able to get free drinks on Ladies' Night. But this woman is making it sound as though any man makes more than any woman. And if income is supposed to justify this discrimination, then shouldn't the man be the one to get the free drinks if he makes less than the woman?
And that's the least men could do.
You hear that, guys? You men don't do enough. Providing women with free drinks is just the start. They should be provided with other free things as well. How about birth control?
I'm all for Ladies' Night every night, because the more men you have, more women you have, the more men come in. You know, it's like, feeding, raw meat to a lion's den.
I hear this one a lot. So the reasoning for this discrimination is sexist. It implies that men are mainly interested in going to clubs because of the women, not for the drinks. And women are mainly interested in the drinks and not the men. Why can't we say that the more men you have, the more women come in?
I would have to say that the guy bringing lawsuits against Ladies' Night, that he's ridiculous. It's more fun when there's more ladies.
Another sexist remark.
And he should be happy.
Says the one who gets the free drinks during Ladies' Night.
Exactly. Unless he's gay.
Ah, yes. Those who oppose discrimination against men must be gay. And why should a sexual orientation even come up? What does that have to do with anything? Nice shaming tactic. That's a code lavender.
I would love the world to be equal. I would love everything to be all on one even playing field. Unfortunately, it's not. Don't try to ruin it for the rest of us.
No, don't make me pay for my own drinks. That would be awful. What do I look like? A man or something? In other words, you want equality only when it favors you. But when somebody stands up for equality that doesn't work in your favor and will take away an advantage that only women have, then he's a killjoy.
And the intrepid reporter Mary Kate Burke, who got those little men and women on the street takes for you, joins us now.
You see that big grin on her face? She wears this grin the entire time. It's like the idea of men being discriminated against is just laughable to her. Her facial expressions show that she thinks that this whole thing is ridiculous, as though discrimination against men is something that shouldn't be taken seriously.
Wipe that disgusting grin off your face. Well, any fucking time, sweetheart.
Mary Kate, let me ask you, correct me if I'm wrong, and we both know how often that happens. It seemed that both men and women are in favor of Ladies' Night, true?
Absolutely. Last night, the Law and Justice Unit was out all night talking to club goers all over the hottest clubs in New York, and we kept hearing the same thing over and over again. You know, ladies, we need some advantage in the world. Guys have everything else.
You gotta be shitting me. You have a lot of advantages. Not only do you have a ladies' night, but you also have Ladies' Day, Girls' Night Out. How about women-only scholarships, affirmative action, ladies first, not being required to sign up for selective service, longer life expectancy, getting free stuff at the expense of men even if it's not ladies' night, paying less for car insurance, less likely to be homeless but more likely to receive help if you are, being much less likely to die or get injured on the job, being more likely to get custody of a child, the fact that you can be around children and not be viewed as a creepy pedophile, lower standards on the fitness test to become police officers and firefighters, a national office for women's health but no national office for men's health, the fact that you can perpetuate your own advantages by claiming that you have none, like you're doing right now, or the fact that if you were convicted of the same crime as a man, you would be serving less time than he would, if any at all. And that's just barely the tip of the iceberg. And she has the nerve to say that ladies' night is the only advantage that women have and men have everything else?
Give us one night, give us one free drink, and the men will follow. The men told us the same thing. They said, don't take ladies' night away from us. That's why we're here.
Now, when you stated the female opinion there, was that an observation or was that an opinion of your own? You seemed a little forceful there when you said it.
Little column A, little column B. I would not like to see ladies' night taken away in New York.
And now, this may be a little bit of a sidebar, but I think it's relevant looking at ABC News resources. When you say the Law and Justice Unit was out all night in the clubs getting these answers, what does that mean? Were you out partying all night or were you doing the reporting that we asked you to do?
We were having a good time, but mostly we were getting responses from people on the street. They want to keep ladies' night, and they're upset to hear that there's a lawsuit that could threaten it.
Really? I hope you weren't becoming part of the problem there. Let me bring in the plaintiff here right now. Joining us now is the man who took this battle to the courts, Roy Den Hollander. The claim, it is a violation of his constitutional rights for this to happen, and he's suing on behalf of all men. Welcome, Roy. I will not thank you at this time because it would show that I'm being partial, and that's not the way I work in this show.
How is merely thanking a guest for coming showing any sort of partiality? It's common courtesy. In fact, by not thanking him and extending this common courtesy, you show that you are partial. Not that we couldn't already tell from earlier.
It makes economic sense. You want the women to come because the men do. It's pretty much how it works. I worked in the clubs for a lot of years. But let us say, what is your claim here? What right do you believe is being violated?
The key issue is what's called invidious discrimination. If you have two groups of people who are similarly situated, then they have to be treated in the same manner. Otherwise, it's called invidious discrimination. I'm sure you've gone to these clubs before. Did you feel that it was unfair for you to have to pay more money to get in because a girl? Just because an accident in nature made you a guy instead of her?
I worked in the clubs. I've seen this system that you would call invidious discrimination at work. I've been forced to pay many times more than I would like to admit. But I do think it is part and parcel of the dynamic that men want to be occurring. And that is my question to you. If the men want this to be happening, because you say, you know, you represent all men, but if the men want the women at the club, and the way they get the women in the club is by encouraging them to go, by not having them pay, are you helping men by getting rid of this system, or are you hurting your brother men?
Okay, so some men put up with discrimination against their own sex. That makes it okay then. Should discrimination against women be acceptable if some women are okay with it? You see, this is the problem I have with this whole thing. People justifying discrimination against men using sexist reasons.
The belief that ladies' nights bring in more girls is a fundamental wrong belief. If this suit is successful, what will happen is the clubs will increase the price for girls, reduce the price for guys. Girls will look at that, and girls aren't dumb when it comes to men. They'll say, hey, guys can pay less to get into this club. That means more guys will go, so more girls will come. Now let me finish. Now they're going to have to drink a few more drinks, or get a guy to buy them a few more drinks, because it increased their cost to get into the club. So the girls will be drinking more, they'll be having more fun, and so will the guys be having more fun.
My ridiculometer is starting to move like this a little bit, and here's why. If you were to reverse the pricing dynamic, as you just suggested, and have the men pay less and the women pay more, aren't you creating the same problem in reverse? Mm-hmm.
Well, if you reverse the dynamic, you're still going to have invidious discrimination.
Yeah, but now you're saying it's okay to invidiously discriminate against women, but it's not right to do against men?
No, I'm not saying that.
But
I mean,
this is
a suit based upon equality.
Right.
And it's based upon a suit that was brought 30 years ago by a national organization of, I refer to them as witches, but the name is actually NOW. And it's based on that. It's the same situation. If you were to change the sexes in this situation, you'd hear an outcry from these feminist groups.
Assuming it's disadvantaging someone, just to walk you through the legalities of a situation such as this, for you to represent a class, which is what you're trying to do, you say you represent all men.
Right. And
you would have to be, first of all, speaking for all men, which clearly you do not, but also you would have to be speaking to something where there is a harm, right? You'd have to have standing to sue. You say, I'm one of these guys who had to pay. But also you'd have to have something there that made it relevant to the court. I think a lot of men like it this way because most men go into these clubs assuming they're interested in women, want as many women to be there as possible, and this encourages them to go. Have you asked a lot of men about this?
Legally, it doesn't matter in that case. Now, tentatively right now, I'm representing a class. The court will make the final decision on that. But if this suit is successful and requires clubs to charge the same amount for guys and girls, those guys can go to those clubs, and if they want to, they can shell out an extra $10. They can shell out an extra $20. There won't be any violation of the law then. They'll just be giving gifts to the clubs. So if the suit's successful and they don't like the suit and they oppose the suit, when they go to clubs, pay more money to get in, the clubs will thank them for it.
All right, Roy Den Hollander, appreciate your take on the situation. Let us know how the suit goes. I want to thank you. I want to thank Mary Kate Burke for hitting the streets, working so hard. Appreciate it very much.
Chris, we don't want your ridiculometer going too far on your birthday, but we want to wish you a happy
First
birthday.
of all, do not start using the phrase ridiculometer, okay?
I think you coined it.
There's only one person allowed to use it. We're all JU family. You can use it whenever you want.
So to sum up, Ladies' Night is great and justified because the more women there are, the more men will come too, as though all men ever think about is meeting women, and that men have all the advantages in life, which is complete bullshit, and the least women deserve is a ladies' night, and women don't make as much money as a man, which is not necessarily true, so it's only fair that she gets free stuff. Not once did I hear them say, well, if it's a private business and they want to have something like a ladies' night, they should be able to do that. That would not be a sexist reason, and I would actually agree with that. But it's pretty disgusting how discrimination against men is a frivolous concept to many people. Case in point, this guy and his ridiculometer, and Mary with that grin on her face practically laughing at the idea that somebody would think that ladies' night is discrimination. You know damn well that they wouldn't think it's so laughable if the sexes were switched. So yes, even though I feel that these privately owned bars and clubs should have the right to have something like a ladies' night, and I would be opposed to any extra government regulation intruding on private businesses, that doesn't mean that I like the fact that bars and clubs choose to have a ladies' night. It is still discrimination. But mainstream society won't think of it like that because the discrimination is happening to men. If businesses are prohibited from discriminating against women, then they should also be prohibited from discriminating against men. Either both should be allowed or both should be prohibited. You would think feminists would have had ladies' night done away with already. I thought they said they were all about equality.